Hey guys, let's get more news from Dallas Cowboys, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Slowing down? Micah Parsons' shrinking stats about Dallas Cowboys scheme, not durability. The Dallas Cowboys' 49-17 victory over the New York Giants was arguably the best game of the season for America's team, unless you were hoping to see edge rusher Micah Parsons make an impact. Parsons, for the first time in his career, literally did not appear in the box score. Not only did he fail to generate a sack, he didn't even make a tackle. Dallas would rest its starters by the game's final minutes, but Parsons still played on 68% of the defense's snaps. Of course, even a blowout win could not keep the Cowboys away from media scrutiny. On Wednesday, 105.3, the fan host Brian Broaddus asked whether or not Parsons' silent showing was a sign of things to come. Parsons has seen dips in sack production before, prompting questions about his durability over the course of the long season. Somebody on the broadcast pointed out he had 12 sacks through 11 games last season, only to finish with 2.5 the rest of the way. Is Parsons beginning to slow down? No. Glad we got that out of the way. Parsons' production may falter in the second half of the season, but if Week 10 was any indication, the blame, for lack of a better word, will belong to defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. Quinn has done a good job keeping the defense strong amidst a flurry of injuries, but it was his choice to limit Parsons' opportunities on the pass rush. Parsons took 10 snaps as an off-ball linebacker on Sunday, the second highest mark of his season. This was likely an attempt to replace linebacker Leighton Vander Esch, who was ruled out for the season after an injury sustained in Week 5. The most snaps Parsons has taken off the line of scrimmage came the following week, while Dallas continued to search for answers at linebacker. Frankly, there are better ways to allocate resources across the defense. Parsons is at his best, one of the top 3 at his position, when he's rushing the passer. His ability to break opposing offenses with his athleticism provides much more value in 7-yard sacks than covering tight ends and filling an interior gap from the linebacker spot. It seems Parsons agrees. Nobody's perfect. All teams aren't perfect. Like I said, it was scheme, Parsons said on his podcast The Edge. They decided they wanted me off ball. I just show up and play. At the end of the day, I have no control over what's called or what I'm doing. I just got to have faith in the coaches. If he continues to play inside linebacker at times, it's an inevitability that his so far 7.5 sack campaign will trail off a bit. He'll be making an impact in a different fashion that won't show up in Defensive Player of the Year graphics, but that isn't an indictment of his ability to perform late in the season. This season, Parsons is top 3 in pass rush win rate by both ESPN and PFF's measures. Even if his sack totals dwindle in the season's final weeks, we'll argue that fans can feel confident that the Cowboys' best player will likely retain his dominance until Dallas' final whistle. And that Quinn will wisely find a way to utilize the linebacker for his greatest impact. Not just a boast, CeeDee Lamb is cementing himself as the top WR in the NFL. Dallas Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb is playing like a man possessed. He has been on a torrid stretch since Week 6, and the 151 yards and a touchdown on 11 receptions, as well as a 14-yard rushing score against the New York Giants, is just the latest example of his recent dominance. You can choose to debate it if you like, but Lamb is no doubt playing like the best wide receiver in the entire league at this moment. He is winning at every level, over the middle, on the outside, running away from defenders out of the backfield, and even making jaw-dropping, one-handed circus catches. As you can imagine, Lamb's confidence is at an all-time high. While he's probably the least vocal Cowboys player to wear the number 88 jersey, he doesn't exactly shy away from boasting about his talent when it's warranted. That was never more apparent than with the recent statement he made post-game after Dallas' 49-17 victory of the Giants. I'm one of them ones. I'm a top receiver in this game, Lamb said via the team's website. There's no question about it. If there is, I'll see you again next week. Consistency is always key to cementing oneself as the best of the best in the NFL, but as things stand right now, little argument can be made against Lamb not being a top player his position. And, as far as stats go, he's right there with the best like Tyreek Hill and A.J. Brown, both of whom are believed to be the top 2 receivers in the entire NFL. Justin Jefferson would be here as well, but he has been injured. Lamb's 975 receiving yards is currently third in the NFL, behind only Tyreek Hill, 1,076, and A.J. Brown, 1,005. And of the three, he also currently has the best catch percentage at 79.07% compared to Hill's 71.13% and Brown's 72.83% according to Next Gen Stats. He's actually tied with only Adam Thielen with the best catch percentage among WRs, with at least 30 receptions this year. What really makes Lamb's production even more impressive during his torrid stretch since Week 6 is the fact he's basically been uncoverable despite the opposition trying their best to contain him. And, until recently, he was getting very little help from his teammates in the passing game, which makes the numbers he's been putting up even more eye-popping. Thanks to Lamb, and Dak Prescott quite possibly playing the best football of his career here recently, the Dallas Cowboys passing game is really starting to find their groove as of late. With Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup finally showing up in the passing game, Dallas' WR trio gives the offense have some scary upside from here on out. Slot Lamb amongst the league's receivers as you like. In the end, it doesn't really matter. He's out there being productive regardless of our thoughts of him, and the Cowboys are better for it. Cowboys could easily move on from star Pro Bowler, analyst. A Pro Bowl star could be in the midst of his final season with the Dallas Cowboys. As mentioned by Jess Haney of SB Nation's Blogging the Boys, running back Tony Pollard is not having a good season. In his first season as the Cowboys featured back, the 26-year-old is averaging just 3.9 yards per carry and has been ineffective in the red zone with just 2 rushing touchdowns to show. Haney mentions Pollard's declining statistics as the featured back compared to his efficiency as a complementary back alongside starter Ezekiel Elliott last season. As the change-up runner behind Ezekiel Elliott for the last few years, Pollard's been a potent weapon, writes Haney. It was enough to get him the franchise tag last spring, a 1-year deal for $10.1 million. Pollard is one of the top 10 backs in the NFL in terms of compensation, but has since plummeted in per-touch average, 3.9 YPC, and per-game average, 58.8 YPG. After scoring 12 total touchdowns in 2022, Pollard has 2 so far this year. Pollard was one of the league's most efficient runners over the past 2 seasons, averaging 5.2 yards per carry during the 2022 season, 7th best in the NFL, and 5.5 yards per carry during the 2021 season, 5th best in the NFL. To top it all off, he actually posted 12 total touchdowns in 2022, the 8th best mark in the NFL. However, this season has seen Pollard's efficiency decline drastically. It could be due to wear and tear, with Pollard ranking 7th in the league with 164 touches. It's worth noting Pollard never led the Cowboys in carries or touches prior to this season. Or it could be the change in offensive philosophy with Mike McCarthy taking over for former offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. Whatever the case may be, the lack of efficiency is working against Pollard as he seeks to gain a long-term contract in the offseason. With Pollard currently playing under the $10.1 million franchise tag, the Cowboys could simply allow him to walk in free agency. Or they could seek to sign him to a cheap deal that brings him back for another season. Long story short, all of the leverage is in the Cowboys' hands, especially when you factor in the weakened market for running backs. Again, the Cowboys could easily move on after this season, writes Haney. They have plenty of reasons to reduce payroll at running back and reallocate that money to other positions. But the irony here is that success was more likely to make 2023 Tony Pollard's last season in Dallas, while the current struggles could make it easier for him to return. Despite his decline in production, Spotrac still projects Pollard to have a market value of $10.7 million per year across 3 seasons for a total of $32.3 million. However, it's hard to envision Pollard garnering that type of contract from any team. When one factors in that the offseason's biggest running back signing, Miles Sanders of the Carolina Panthers, has completely flopped in his first season with his new team, and that Jonathan Taylor has struggled, averaging just 3.8 yards per carry, after signing his 3-year, $42 million extension with the Indianapolis Colts, Pollard doesn't have any leverage. It'll be interesting to see what the Cowboys do at running back in the offseason. They could allow Pollard to walk and draft a young runner, bring back Rico Dowdle as the starter, or simply bring Pollard back at a reduced rate. And you fan, what do you think of the Tony Pollard situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.